Peter Parker has had it rough the past few months, moving away with his wife only to be brought back to New York. But with the return of his greatest foe, Norman Osborn, things have gotten even crazier. With the loss of his brother and daughter, Peter Parker and his wife Mary Jane must cope with their losses. Between their return to college, Norman Osborn, the Stacy family, new gangs, ninjas, and the Trapster, will they rise above it all or crack under the weight? Welcome to the Forgotten Era, where we'll answer all those questions and more. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Forgotten Era podcast. This is Ethan, and I'm joined, as usual, by Matthew.
Hey, everyone.
And very happy to introduce one of my bestest friends ever, Brad.
Ooh, what's up, guys? It's Brad. I'm John Romita Jr. Spider-Man incarnate as okay, no, that was stupid. But I'm on various like platforms. SpectacularScarletSpider is like my cosplay page, like my main place you could find me on social media. But I'm also on Twitter. Bradical is the name, but it's like really hard to spell because I hate like being easy to find, I guess. Um, Huge comic fan, huge Spider-Man fan, huge Clone Saga fan, and so yeah, I was invited by Ethan to join this because it's an interesting little era after the Clone Saga, and I'm happy to delve right into it.
Yeah, so I know I asked you this privately, but do you have any history or experience with this specific era?
Like very small tidbits. Like I remember, I read. Let's see, I definitely read The Gathering of Five like years and years and years ago, which
Oh, that's
I
a
don't
good
really
one.
have. Yeah, I don't I don't really have fond memories of it, but I read the Silver Surfer Carnage story and then a few issues here and there of like the Peter Parker Spider-Man. I remember like there's one with Ghost Rider, I think. I don't know, my memory's very
Red, yeah.
foggy. Yeah.
Dude, the Ghost Rider one with that really awful fill-in art. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah. No, so a
Did
couple
they,
things here and there, but nothing like seriously because like you guys, Clone Saga was like one of my mainstays. So I kind of just like fell off in terms of like reading the rest of it after that.
well, it's because it's very inaccessible, but I have fixed that for you. Shameless plug. Uh, don't forget to check out Project Rescan so you can read these books along with us every time an episode comes out. I had to do
Yes.
it. Cool. Well, I was gonna ask you another question, but I forgot what it was.
That's okay.
So, I guess if Matthew, if you have anything to say, go ahead. If not, well, I guess we can start getting into the actual books.
Nah, I'm just letting you guys are more familiar with each other, so I was just letting you guys, go on, and you're a beautiful interviewist or interviewer. Interviewer, yeah, that's the word.
He is
Perfect.
the interviewee. I am the interviewer. But I'm glad that you mentioned the Carnage because Tom Lyle, my goat.
His
The
art
goat.
is amazing. His headshot is actually sitting above me too. So,
Yeah, that's right. You're the one that has that Scarlet that he wants, right?
yes, I do. I have the one that he keeps
Yeah.
saying he's going to come and steal from me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a guy that's trying to sell me a Scarlet Tom Lyle head bust, and I just have been putting it off to go look at it and buy it and everything. But like you and me both will be in the same club, so he'll have to choose who he's going to come and break into.
Well, I'd probably break into you, Matthew, because Brad's is signed to him, so I feel a
Yeah.
little bit worse taking that.
You can
But
just erase. You can just take a Sharpie and scribble that shit out, man.
dude, I
Just
was
be like,
thinking
what's his
about
big.
erasing. I was thinking about erasing the dude's name on the Daredevil, but I kept it because it's his handwriting. I wonder if I could like perfectly mimic his writing and write my name instead.
I was about to say you could do that because looking at
I
your
have.
Daredevil, it's like a name that's almost similar to yours, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's Steven, so it's got some of the same letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steven and Ethan are basically the same name.
Well, and
It's
and I can compare because I can see how he wrote my name because it's on the 118 that I have. So
Oh, sure. You forge it.
yeah, exactly. Um, okay, cool. I guess we're gonna read comics now. So, we're covering 2 books this week, as per usual. This is going to be the rest of November 1996 into December 1996, because apparently they skipped Spectacular in November. 241 came out in October, and then 242 came out in the beginning of December, a day before my birthday. Ooh, I wasn't alive yet, so it doesn't matter. But that's interesting. We're going to start with Peter Parker, Spider-Man number 76, which coincidentally, as of recording, it is November 20th, 2024, and this book came out on November 20th, 1996. Isn't that cool, guys? Cover date is January of 97, like all the other books for this month. Written by Howard Mackey, drawn by the oh so powerful motherfucking John Romita Jr. And the inker was Scott Hanna. And I tried so hard. I don't know if you guys had this problem, but the credits page in this book is fucking terrible. Because I tried so hard to decipher who the hell was supposed to be who. Obviously, I know who Mackey, Romita, and Hanna are, but the rest I was like, I don't know. And not even the wiki has a colorist listed for this book. So
So
I
weird.
guess it's probably Starkings, but I don't have a first name. But I want to give them
Believe
props.
I'm trying to see. Give me 1 second. I believe it's Starkings. I believe that if I can pull up. Well, this is taking too long. But yeah, I do believe that. You're right. So yeah, this ain't pulling up. I'm sorry. I had like all the notes written out and everything, but my notes aren't pulling up. So
That's all right. But I'm gonna go with yeah, it's probably Starkings because that's the name after Hannah. I just want to give props because I think the coloring in this book is brilliant. But that's our creative team as per usual. Letters are by Comic Craft and Mark Bernardo, editor and editor in chief, Bing Harris and Ralph Macchio and all that stuff. There we go. I guess we're getting into the recap. My headphones totally just died and I had to plug them in, so if there's a weird pause for me, that's why.
I love the things that happen
Recap.
right when you record a podcast.
Dude, it's like, yeah,
yeah,
I thought I plugged them in, but I guess not. That's just the
podcast
wonderful TLC.
notes don't come up. Microphones die. Pretty soon, one of us is gonna die from a heart attack right on air.
Just
It all
casual
comes in
normal stuff.
threes.
Hopefully not me.
It's you.
Damn, it's always
It
me.
it's 100% going to be
I'm the
you.
one who
I
runs all
mean,
the accounts, so if the podcast magically disappears, you know why. Alrighty, so here we go. Opens on a flashback. A Dr. Fields is visited by a super being named Crown, who wishes to gain access to the doctor's notes. The doctor gives his young son a journal and tasks him with giving it to a fellow scientist, Sidney Lanning. The doctor and his wife are killed, and his research is destroyed by Crown, who tells the kid he is coming for him and he'll never forget his face. In the present, Peter wakes up Mary Jane at 8:30 a.m. so they can get on their way to start the day. MJ is needing to pick up her transcripts to start class at ESU, and Peter is heading to campus to meet with his professor, Dr. Lanning, and a student he's tasked with tutoring. He runs by the Bugle first and talks to Betty Brant about about her wanting to run a story on the disappearance of Dr. Fields and Lanning's current research. Peter is hesitant about the idea and heads to ESU as he's running late. On campus, he meets Neil Eichen, a fellow prodigy interested in joining Lanning's program, and finds that the professor was called away to one of the labs. Pete and Neil go there to find an energy machine activated and Crown interrogating Lanning about Dr. Field's journals. Lanning is concerned for the machine, and its stability is questionable, but Crown doesn't care, because the machine's energy can grant him godlike powers, with no explanation, because who the fuck needs that? Peter shoves Neil into a broom closet after being attacked by Crown's goons and suits up to kick some ass. Just then, a mysterious man named S.H.O.C appears. S.H.O.C and Crown seem to have history, but due to S.H.O.C's quiddy remarks, Crown doesn't believe he's the same one he remembers. Spidey and S.H.O.C are captured, but Peter shoots some web into Crown's face and they're freed. S.H.O.C taps into the machine using his high-tech armor that he says is part of his body, and reverses the energy into a portal that can send Crown and his henchmen back to where they came from. Peter helps toss them all through, and the crisis is averted. Only a small-scale explosion occurs, but nobody's hurt. S.H.O.C tells Spidey to possibly investigate Hydra since they're back in town, then randomly disappears. Peter changes back into his clothes and lets Neil out of the closet, who's pretty pissed at Peter for pulling the stunt that he did. And at the very end of the issue, while Mary Jane was getting her transcript, she runs into someone she greatly wants to introduce Peter to, and we get to see who it is. It's Jill Stacy. That's the issue, as quickly read through by me.
Beautiful work. I'm so proud of you.
I guess I'll start with my takeaways personally, and then we'll get to you guys because I'm the most important here, obviously. Beautiful art. John Romita Jr. is just like at his absolute peak in this era. His work on everything with Ben beforehand, incredible. But like this seriously, like this span of time into the late 90s, early 2000s is my absolute favorite. It's just insane. I love the scratchy style that he does for the flashback in the beginning of the issue, which is the same technique he used in the Revelations trade paperback editions, if anyone knows what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I love that the way that looks. It's such a good way of like conveying when it takes place and what the purpose is for that specific art. It just looks awesome, and the inking work on it also just looks fucking awesome. They're doing killer work there. Great Peter and MJ moments in this issue. And I know I mentioned it in the first episode, but as ironic as it is that Mackie's the one that murders Mary Jane, quote unquote, he writes them pretty well, at least in this time frame, before they start their pointless arguments and stuff. Didn't mention it in the recap, but Flash shows up at the Bugle while Peter's there. Wanted to talk to Betty. That alludes to what happens in Spectacular, which I'm sure we'll mention at some point when we get there. So those are some things, and there's a lot of techno babble in this issue.
Oh boy.
We can talk about that later, but I thought I'd bring that up in my points. Lots of machines and research, and I wrote in my notes, Mackie is good at babbling, because almost everything he writes has this same level of like, here's a thing that doesn't make sense. Let me try to explain it, and then it's just like word vomit. We'll
The
talk about
explanation is quantum physics, man.
exactly. We'll talk about S.H.O.C. I have quite a bit about there, and I like Peter's quips a lot. So, who wants to go next? Brad, I guess.
Sure. I thought it was, I don't know, you mentioned the scratchy art, and I was actually literally going to say the same thing. Because I've always liked that quality that JR does with a lot of his, like, he finds a way to discern differences between like different time periods that he's working with. And when I saw that start of the issue, I was like, okay, that is beautiful. Doesn't he do something similar in the Lost Years during like one of Ben's dream
Yeah,
sequences?
when Ben has the dream sequence with the villains and everything, and he's like peeling his face off and everything.
Yeah, I love that part. Um, I don't know. It's also again, you mentioned that's another thing I had written down too is that I know Mackie has a lot of he gets a lot of flack for what he does later on. But I don't know. I really like the intro to the issue where they're both like, "Hey, we gotta go, go, go." We're starting our lives up again. We just went through all these terrible things, but we got a life to live, and we just can't stop. I really like the fact that Peter and MJ, uh, they have a life to live, so they're like, they went through all this tragedy. They're doing their thing, but they can't stop. That's that relatability aspect of Spider-Man that I really enjoy. It's not like, oh, you always have to be down in the dumps. You always have to be this and that. But no, you've got a lot going on in life. And that's what I think this book, or at least those pages were conveying to me. And I relate a lot to that. Um, and you're right. The techno babble was something I had a personal hard time to read. It was just,
Dude, it's just
you
like
know, word soup.
Crown's word bubbles are insanely big. Like he's just
But yeah,
saying shit.
yeah, that's there's I think it's the one page where he's holding the doctor like or the scientist hostage or whatever in the university, and he's just like going on and on and on about just
The
quantum.
full
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
the full
It's
wide
like the
shot.
first page was like, "Gentlemen, come in. We're engaging in a scientific debate." The doctor was
You know
just
what it
constantly
reminds
the
me
law of
of?
conservation.
What?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the beginning of like every Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode.
Oh,
Gentlemen,
don't get me
behold,
started.
quantum physics.
I love Aqua Teen, I swear. So, you're so right. Uh,
It,
I
it,
don't know, Doc. Something about this don't seem right.
and then Carl's car blows up. My friggin' car!
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry, but yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Great, a good issue overall. I'm actually probably going to keep reading alongside you guys just to see where this goes because I think Shock's an interesting character. I never really, I mean, I've looked at a lot of these covers before for this era, even if I haven't read a lot of these issues, just because I love Romeo Jr.'s heart. So, but I've never really learned anything about Shock until sat through and read this issue.
I mean,
You
hey,
and
Um,
everybody else.
he's barely
yeah.
in anything, so it doesn't really. You won't get to learn a whole lot.
Okay, cool. I kind of got that vibe from him and the fact that I'd never heard of this dude before. Um, I don't know, he just shows up, does a thing. I mean, I think they make it this. I don't want to assume anything because I don't, haven't read anything past this, but I think they kind of like make his identity pretty. You
Yeah,
could probably read
it's
between the
pretty
lines a lot.
obvious who he is.
Yeah.
Like they're not really
What do you
trying to
mean?
hide it.
They
Well,
don't make it obvious at all.
it's clearly Ben Riley came back to life.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, you mentioned the tragedy before, and I totally skipped past the fact that the issue before this is like one of the most insane issues of Spider-Man ever.
Yeah,
So that's a pretty big thing, is going from that to this.
it's
But,
like
you know,
holy shit. Green Goblin's back and just murders the current mainstay Spider-Man, and then next issue it's like the
next issue they're hanging
scientific
out and yeah, they're
theory
like
is.
scientific theory and shock.
Which,
But I
not
mean,
that it's
I think
bad.
it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's nice to have those little layover issues. I mentioned that last episode too, especially with Spectacular 12, like or Spectacular 12, Jesus Christ, Sensational 12. Yeah, Spectacular number 12.
Going back in
Um,
time.
yeah, where it's cool to have those like little in between issues, but I mean, this definitely has a lot more plot than that book did, so I'll take it.
I
But
mean,
I
I
enjoyed
feel
it
like
overall.
this issue. I feel like this issue is a lot better of a like a after issue after like a big event than Sensational issue 12, because Sensational issue 12 is kind of like it's fine, it's a light snack, but this has got at least some meat on it. There's good art. There's it's we make fun of Shock and the quantum mechanics, but like it's a fucking fun issue.
Hey, I'm never making fun of Shock. I actually fucking love Shock. I'm the president of the Shock fan club.
There's a
That's
fan
awesome.
club.
Yeah, I just made it.
You just made it.
You guys want to join?
All
Yeah,
right,
I'm
no,
already
I'm good,
here.
man.
We're getting tattoos.
I'm
I'm,
definitely
I'm,
out then, man.
I don't know. This might be a little too far.
My girlfriend will kill. Now, if we brand ourselves,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
where.
Hmm,
All right.
that sounds good to me.
But I mean, we were talking about, you were talking about like this is peak John Romita Jr. I mean, I can't disagree or not disagree, agree. But I mean, I can't. This is like when I tell people I love John Romita Jr. This is the era I show him, and I know John Romita hates this era. He thinks it's too blocky. He thinks his people are too buff. This is what I think of when I think of him. My background on my iPad is actually like his one of his Spider Ben pictures with him and Daredevil jumping down and everything from
Yeah.
'76. He draws my favorite Spider Ben costume, and he is, in my opinion, like on the Mount Rushmore Spider-Man artists. He's had such a long career, so to see him at his top of his game is just fun. Now, it's fun to bash him now, especially for I'm going to sound like the old man that I am. but the modern generation kind of hates him, and I can see why. His art's definitely gone downhill in the last couple years, but he is almost 70 years old. But just props to him, and Hannah on it and everything. Like, it's just, you cannot beat this.
I don't know a better inker than Scott Hanna at this point. I mean, like, there are definitely more like legendary inkers, but everything that I love, Hanna has pretty much always done the inks for.
I agree
Whether
with
it
that. Yeah.
be Bagley or Lyle or this, like, Scott Hanna's
Well,
name is on fucking everything. He inked John Byrne on the reboot, like everything.
he compliments John Romita or I'm just going JR. He compliments him so much because, like, you've seen him draw, like his actual drawings. It looks like Romita art.
Hmm.
So, like, I think he just gets how, Romita draws his people and structures everything. It is like just it's beautiful. Like, there's not a single time in my life where I haven't gone back to the 90s era and just stared at his pages and going, wow, this is great. And I feel like a lot of his style now kind of bleeds into his father. Um, if you look at, and we'll talk about it, later on in the podcast, but you look at Bermuda Senior at this time, his art kind of gets influenced from his son. He starts giving him the big eyes. He starts giving him the longer leg spiders, and it kind of looks a little bit more like Bermuda Junior. So, like, I think that this is just the bee's knees, buddy.
I also really like that when like JR was going back to, yeah, this is Peter. He was like, we're giving him the web wings.
Oh
Like
yeah, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
like that is gonna be my look for Spider-Man, and there's just no ifs, ands, buts about it. So every single time you see Peter Parker in the Spider-Man suit during this run, he has him. Unless there's maybe like one or two panels where he doesn't by accident, but he definitely has him every other time. And it looks great. It's perfect.
I love
Everything
the
about
web
the
wings.
art in this book is insanely good.
Yeah, web wings to me scream just like classic Spider-Man, like they're a staple of, that iconic design. And so I couldn't be happier. When I saw the web wings in this issue, I was like, okay, we are locked in. We're ready to go. So
There's such an underutilized, like, concept for the costume because I remember when the Raimi movies were coming out. I remember sitting in the back of the car going to the movies, asking my dad, oh, well, why don't they have the web pits? And my dad was like, well, people don't know about the web pits. That's a comic book thing. They don't do it in the cartoons and everything. And being so disappointed. I absolutely love the web pits. I can take the costume without it, but, like, if you throw that in there, man, it's like a cherry on a sundae, man.
those movie producers and stuff and the costume designers, they didn't try hard enough. As someone who I just sewed web wings onto my Hermia Junior suit for like 4 or 5 hours the other day, and it sucks, but it looks pretty cool in my opinion. And they're practical; they can work.
Have you
You
tried
mean I
So,
can
gliding
jump
with
off?
them?
what's that?
Have you tried gliding with them?
Not yet. I was gonna do that next week. See if
Okay,
Then
I
okay,
make it.
cool.
how the fuck are they practicing?
Fair enough. Well, I'll let you know.
Yeah, well, we'll
Please,
find out.
please don't, please don't.
I'll send you my hospital bill.
Yeah, send them to the hospital. That was crazy.
I get
Um,
a text message from Ethan being like, "Dude, wake up! He
he
did it! He finally did it!"
fucking died.
They might have to shock me back to life.
I see what you did
Yes!
there. I see what you
Yes!
did there.
He did the thing. What do we think SHOC stands for?
Um,
Um,
it stands for sorry, honey. Of course, cock. I don't know.
Okay, okay. I like that Peter quips about it. And he says, it means superhero, of course.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, no. That's his big funny of the well, okay, that's the one thing I do really like about this. I mentioned it briefly in my like takeaways saying that I liked his quips, but he is extremely like quippy Spider-Man in this issue. And sometimes it can get a little annoying when I read certain books, but I really like it here. Especially like when you do take it into context of like this is Peter back on the saddle for the first time in months after, his whole life is fucking flipped upside down. He's just coping his way through it. Just like, I'm Spider-Man again. Who the fuck is this guy? What's going on? Big energy, black hole, whatever. I'm just gonna say whatever the hell I want. And he totally does. And I really like it. I don't know. I really like this issue. And it's issues like these and subsequent that are coming for this series where I like Howard Mackie a lot. So because of these stories and the Clone Saga stuff beforehand. I think he has such a nice grasp on things, and whether it be editorial that changes and ruins everything, who knows? But yeah, I don't know. I think Peter Parker is probably my favorite series out of all of these. Like, I don't know
I
if
would agree.
it's the greatest quality one, but it's definitely my favorite.
I would say for me, it's Peter Parker, and then it's Spectacular, and then Amazing, and then Sensational.
Yeah, I'm
But
probably pretty similar there. I could probably flip
that's
flop some, but definitely.
I definitely think that like that's not to say that like Sensational's the worst. They're all very good. Like it's just dependent on what day of the week you ask me.
Yeah,
But
and they're
Peter
all
Parker,
very different books too, so like
yeah,
it's hard to compare them sometimes when you have the intense character-driven drama of Spectacular and then you're fucking goofing off in the Savage Land. Like there's a lot of different things going on, but yeah, I love this series. So.
I mean, the thing that Brad brought up, where it's like Spider-Man's kind of, I don't want to say burdened because it is like a big part of the character, that relatability is such a big factor for the character, and the thing that like, yeah, it can be taken as kind of tonal shift, where it's like the last issue, it's oh my God, Ben's dead, the Goblin's back, all this shit's happening, and the next issue, Peter's fighting a bunch of dudes that all look the fucking same. I'm sorry. That's the side note. That's the biggest complaint I have about this issue. I haven't read this issue in years. I looked when I was reading it the first time. I was like, "Who the fuck is talking? Is that S.H.O.C? Oh wait, S.H.O.C hasn't showed up yet." Like I was like that. These are probably the worst characters that he has ever designed. But but I mean,
They're just like
S.H.O.C and
nothing black masses. Like they're all
Yeah.
just colorless. The only thing that
Shadow.
differentiates Crown from his goons is his glowy purple eyes.
pretty much that's pretty much all it is.
And
But
that's it. And his like sick dope mohawk.
and his Mr. Fantastic giant fists,
Yeah, that only come out sometimes.
which Ramita later steals and gives it to Venom.
Yeah, that's true. It's okay.
So, but
It's okay. Crown will be banging hot chicks later on in the series, so
Oh hell
that is
yeah.
true. It's quite the sight.
it's an interesting
Maybe I
phase,
need to
that
keep
one.
reading.
Absolutely. You want to see sexy John Romita Jr. lady hugging and
No,
snuggling up with
I
Crown?
just want to see sexy John Romita Jr.
Oh.
Well,
You
boy,
gotta
do I have a surprise for you. Look under your chair. No.
Oh my god,
let's go
Jizzy?
behind curtain number one. Jizzy Roma?
Jizzy
Oh,
Roma Jr.
you know nothing about this joke, Matthew. It runs deep.
is rooted.
You're gonna have to fill me in after.
I will.
Is that
But no,
some meat
and
you got?
the only thing I want to say, the only other thing I want to say about this is that it is the first appearance of Crown, the so-called rumored villain of 2022's movie Morbius. So, just in case, if anyone wanted to buy a copy of this book in 2022, and it was expensive, that's why.
All about that.
Even though they didn't even use him, they like thought that the character that um Doctor Who guy, I can't remember his name right now.
Oh, Matt
uh,
Smith.
Yeah, Matt Smith. They thought that he was playing Loxius Crown, who is this guy, because he later is Loxius Crown in the reboot when he becomes a vampire. So
so
undoubtedly.
loaded.
Yeah. Interesting.
Wrestling dude from Friendly Neighborhood that they were gonna make the movie
El
out of. That only. What was it?
El Muerto?
Yeah, when they announced they were doing a movie of that, I was like, I don't even remember those issues.
Dude, I didn't have them, so I found them in a dollar bin right when they announced it because I'd read it like through like trades back in the day, and I finally bought them and then read them that way for the first time since I was like a literal child, and they're the most like boring issues. Like
It's
Friendly Neighborhood was fun because it was Peter David just doing Peter David shit, but it was nonsense.
they're the worst issues in that run. Well, depending on how you feel about the other.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh god.
you know,
Let's not
they're
talk
they're
about it.
they're the worst solo issues. But anyway, so
Anyway, Peter Parker Spider-Man 76. What are we giving it out of 10?
give it a solid 8. I really
Okay.
liked it.
Yeah, I was gonna say 8 as well. Actually, that
I
seems pretty fitting.
I am also an 8. That is exactly what I wrote down.
This is
This
the
is
highest rated book I think we've had so far.
Yeah, I think I might have said my range for amazing was 7.5 to 8, but yeah, definitely this is a solid book. Give it a read. And you can because of my self-plug that I'm not going
Thank
to do
you,
again.
Ethan. You are my own personal god, and I will build a chapel to you.
I hope so.
pop worship every day.
Rent is due, baby. All right, so Spectacular Spider-Man 242 is next. If you want to take it away, Matthew.
I will, and sit down because this is quite the issue. So I'm gonna only go with 2 credits. We're not gonna go through everybody. So Spectacular Spider-Man 242, written by J.M. DeMatteis. I can talk, and art by Luke Ross. Our story begins during a snowy day in Midtown Manhattan. Everything is peaceful until Jesus Christ! Is that the kangaroo? Yes, dear listener, it is. But do not fret. His dangerous hops will not harm you, for the one true spectacular Spider-Man has arrived on the scene and cold cocks the ever-living shit out of this new springing menace. As Peter swings away, giving a brief history of the kangaroo, which we didn't need because every man, woman, and child in the United States of America knows the intricate history of the kangaroo. We cut to Spider-Man again, towering in fear as he proclaims that he's happy hiding behind the mask and assuming another man's identity. However, in a turn of events no one expected unless they read the last issue, looked at the cover, or can gaze down at the bottom panel of page 5, we soon see that this is, in fact, the Chameleon being consoled by Ashley Kafka, soon to be another woman who gets turned into a goblin queen.
No, give or
After
take
she
20 years.
after she kidnapped him by faking his escape and hid him in the basement of the same building nobody went down to look for him. John Jameson is awful at his job. This is where our tax money is going to. Ashley begs Dimitri to take things serious while her helping him, and threatens to give him back to the feds as he jumps from celebrity to celebrity. Once he says he's serious, he, who could have thought, attacks her. Who could have foreseen the evil, unhinged supervillain attacking an unarmed woman? Not me, dear listener, not me. We then cut to Peter, Flash, and Liz as they get together for a meal. Flash shows off his newly acquired skill of being an alcoholic, and Liz reveals she is dating Daredevil cast member Foggy Nelson. Peter later tries to talk to Flash about his attitude, but the two butt heads, leaving Peter to swap into his Spider-Man outfit, and give him a pep talk about not feeling self-pity for yourself due to him feeling like his life is not up to par as it should be. That's right, the dude with raging guilt and dressed as a spider who lives his life with self-pity as his best friend, after not that long removed from hiding in a web cocoon on a ceiling and screaming he is the spider and Parker is dead, is telling the war veteran that self-pity is not good. We then cut to JJ and Marla, drawn by Luke Ross. I swear that fact is important. Marla, drawn by Luke Ross, is hot as shit. The two talk about the books they're reading while JJ hears a knock that causes him to panic. Marla tells him that he's too paranoid, but we then pan out to see that one pumpkin dude who's not the Green Goblin, but kind of is like him. You know who I'm talking about. Jack in the Box or Pumpkin Man or some shit. I don't know. Ashley then runs to find John to tell him she found the chameleon and that they need to get the security man. Ashley then explains what she did, then asks for John's gun. John, the smartest man alive, then hands his gun over and then is fucking shot in the heart. John Jameson is dead. You can quote me on that. He's never returning to the book again. Oh, and by the way, it turns out Ashley is the chameleon. Who could have foreseen this? Once Peter drops off Flash, he then runs into 90s Ock holding Peter Parker over a ledge. Is it a clone? Isn't Doc dead? We don't know. Well, I do, dear listener. So it's to come to no surprise that this is the chameleon who has set up a trap for Spidey and has put him asleep by rubbing chemicals all over his clothes. Spidey then wakes up to find out that he's in a straitjacket in a padded room as Kafka appears telling him that his real name is Mr. Smith. And he had a nervous breakdown due to trauma, and that causes him to think he's Spider-Man. Kafka then takes off his mask to reveal a man who looks like my dad from the 1990s. My father's Spider-Man. You can't prove me wrong. So anyway, what did you guys think of this book?
What the
Insane.
fuck? That recap was insane. I gotta step up my fucking game instead of being
Yeah.
serious.
You just got like made into a complete fool.
Yeah, this is. I feel like personally attacked right now, but I'm extremely impressed. You were not joking yesterday when you said you were just gonna write your fucking heart out.
I love the Jack in the Box comment. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
Okay,
I tried.
so first of all, Chameleon rubbed off Spider-Man. They're killing furries.
Yeah.
This book is awesome. Yeah, no, but in all seriousness, this book is great.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, had a lot of fun with it.
I mean, I think it kind of has that, DeMatteis, human moments where, it's Flash is down on himself and Peter, he could be like, oh, Flash is being an asshole, but instead of doing that, he takes the high ground and goes, you know what, Flash respects Spider-Man over Peter. I'll have a talk with him. And I joked about the self-pity thing and, all that shit, but, at the end of the day, Spider-Man should be a character where he brings hope to people around him. That's what the character should be, and I like that this issue kind of delivers that. There's no real big punching. There's no nothing, and
Well, there's one
two.
big punch.
Oh yeah, there is one big punch.
Right in the beginning.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. I shouldn't have because I read the damn thing.
You made such a big deal about it in your recap.
And
I
Kangaroo,
did.
yeah.
The kangaroo is my favorite character.
It's not
Remember
even
that
the
one
old
time?
kangaroo, it's a new kangaroo.
You remember that one time where the kangaroo like literally like joined up with Hitler and like blew up like South Africa? Do you remember that time? No, you don't because nobody knows a fucking thing about the kangaroo. I just made it up.
I
But
would
you
have believed
believed
you.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
kind
that's
of, for a
cool.
second, I was like, wait, this is crazy. Maybe I need to read more Kangaroo stories.
This sounds real. No, but I agree. The only thing that I kind of have, I don't really know if I would say it's an issue with it. Um, it's just a little gripe is in this era, kind of in every book, Flash is kind of reverted. I guess it's very true to the state that he's in because he's so like entangled in his past and doubting his current self and all that and his drinking problems and whatnot. But he's very like back to like Peter Parker the fucking nerd. Like what a fucking nerd Peter Parker is, what a loser he is. Which is kind of odd considering, Flash was his best man at his wedding and shit, and I thought they were fine at this point and all that stuff. But I do like in this issue he does kind of make a point in saying that he doesn't really mean it when he says things about Peter. Like he mentions that it's either in a thought bubble or So I think it's in a thought bubble after Peter or Spidey leaves, or like while he's talking to him. But it's all just very like Flash kind of hates himself, and he's totally taking it out on everybody else. And he does care about Peter, just also is being Flash Thompson at the same time. And
Yeah,
Flash
it's
has a lot
like
to
that
do in this
typical
book, so
projection, basically what you're saying. It's like
Yeah.
he's
yeah,
projecting all of his like insecurities and fears and stuff, and the same stuff he probably did when he was in high school bully towards him and stuff.
right,
Putting that on to Peter
Which
because he thinks about that for himself.
yeah,
it makes sense because, like, as a person, while, yeah, I agree that it does seem like he's taking a step back as a character, I can kind of brush that aside because there's been times in my life where, I'll be in a rough spot and I'll take it out on the person closest to me.
yeah,
And it's like,
exactly.
shit, why'd I do that? And they do kind of eventually come back together, late, long down the line. But, this Flash, I know Harry's the best friend, but Flash has always been like the co-best friend in my eyes. The two should be on a higher level of like, hey man, what's wrong? When you're that close with a person, even when you're projecting, there should be this kind of like, fuck, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like if you're really a best friend, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know, but I mean I get that Flash is going through so much. There's the Shashan stuff, the him being a vet. We haven't even. Here's a fun thing. What do we feel about the fact that Venom hates heights?
Yeah,
Interesting.
guess you had to
That
get over that pretty quick.
Yeah.
let's see, what else did I write down? Liz and Foggy is a weird '90s couple, one of many.
Yeah, that was
The
I was
that's
like, whoa,
always
what's
been
happening?
that's always been weird to me. Um, let's see. Kafka breaking the law to protect Dimitri proves that she's, I guess, a good therapist, but also cares way too much about the well-being of this psychopath.
No, she's a
Um,
lawbreaker. She was born to be a goblin.
yeah, she was born to be a goblin. It's just they were telling JMD was working it into her character from the start. He was like, I know they're gonna do this. I
He
know they're
knew
gonna
that
do this.
he knew that he would come back to write Ben Riley's Spider-Man, which would then be kind of a run at the same time as Beyond. He just had the foresight, so he knew what was happening.
Well, that you know what that means, right? JMD Mateus predicted this. He led the way. That means Modern Spider-Man's great. That's right, Twitter. I said it.
All
Modern
You
right,
know what?
we
Spider-Man
got
is
it.
the best.
Facts.
JMD created Chasm.
Present to you your God, and this is what your God has laid out. So eat it.
Retweeting
Controversy.
that.
Um, no, I do you guys want to talk about art at all? I mean, we kind of have been brushing over it. I know we kind of like already praised Luke Ross last time, but I
Joe
I
did.
really I really love this art. And the colors haven't gotten bad yet. As this series goes on, the colors start to get a little more murky than I want them to be. But
Uh,
as of right now in this issue, I dig it a lot.
I mean, Luke Raw. There's nothing wrong with you know. Let me just say this: these are two great issues back to back when it
Yeah.
comes to art and writing.
I've
Um,
I've got a feeling that the weeks with or the episodes with Peter Parker and Spectacular are gonna be, you know, pretty highly praising episodes.
oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, Luke Ross is there. I don't think that there's a better pairing for two satellite books. It baffles my mind that one of these guys isn't on Amazing. Um, Luke Ross on Amazing would have been amazing. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I
But
would
mean
have
I
been
John
mean,
Romita
spectacular.
Jr. of all people not being on Amazing, just I mean he had a run on Amazing obviously already before this, like
yeah.
way before this. But just the fact that when they're rebooting everything, they choose like newcomer to run on Amazing is, I don't know. It's interesting, but I'm honestly very okay with it because I love the synergy between these two groups of people. I love Mackey's writing and JR's pencils, and I love Luke Ross's pencils and JMD's writing. Like you said, they're really great creative teams on these books. It's super impressive.
They definitely create
100%.
like perfect like feels for each book, I think.
100%. I mean, the thing with, if I had to like compare, I definitely like Peter Parker over this issue. I mean, as far as like this book, the plot itself is, kind of, it's thin, even though I conflated it. It's thin. Basically you can boil it down to, Chameleon attacks Kafka and Peter helps Flash. That's basically what happens. But the thing that is just so silly, but like so comic booky that I can kind of roll with it. Like that whole thing, I'm not the biggest fan of. I think it's kind of goofy, but like the Flash stuff, the Flash and Peter stuff, I really like, honestly.
Yeah, everything with supporting characters, in Spectacular specifically, is great. Like, as we go on, there's going to be a lot more focus on Flash, and Flash becomes kind of basically just like every sort of like B plot is about Flash for a while,
Yeah,
and a BC plot. We get a little bit more of Jack-O-Lantern, like you said. He's kind of still in the background stalking Jameson. We'll obviously be getting way more of that too. So yeah, I agree. This issue's kind of, I mean, it's not the greatest issue ever, but it does its job of being a monthly comic book that is now setting up for whatever is going to happen next. It it's good. I mean, it's not as good as 241, but it is good. It's not as good as Peter Parker 76, but it's good. So I'd say that this is on about the same level as Amazing from last time.
yeah. I mean, I think I had a little bit more fun with Amazing because Amazing was just goofy, but like in a fun way. This book kind of, it has that JM trope of like, oh, the villain's not a bad guy. We need to help him out. And God, the villain's doing bad stuff. Who could have foreseen this, happening? Which, I make fun of, and I love JM DeMatteis, but that is definitely a every issue's, the first person's comic book and that whole kind of thing. So, for us longtime readers, you can kind of be like, oh, we're having this meal again. But so I'm not going to hold it against him for too much, even though I might be jumping ahead down the line. But,
Oh,
but, you know, what can I say? Great month.
Give a
So,
number.
wow, why'd
I
you say
love
that
it.
so threatening? Jesus Christ.
Give a number.
Put the gun down, Ethan.
If it's so great, give a number. What's so hard about that?
Give it a number. I'm giving it a number. Damn it, sit down. Yeah, 7.
I agree with that. I mean, not to just keep being like, yeah, you're so right, 7 or 8. Yeah, 7. I thought that was pretty fair because you're right. I mean, JMD does stick to what he likes to write best, and that it's very formulaic, but it's fine. I mean, it's a good book. I would read it.
Whoa, you guys can't insult that. You guys can't be insulting JMD.
Sorry, I
We're
guess
gonna get attacked.
I'm gonna be canceled
Hey
now. Sorry.
man,
This is
I'm too
actually the
I'm
last
too
episode of your
old to
podcast.
be I'm too old to care about what Twitter people care
This
about.
is
Man,
the
I sound old as shit.
podcast. This is the podcast where we praise Howard Mackey And JMT would say, we are
Is that the,
done
is that
for.
that's the ground where the hill we're dying on?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Anyway, just to be different, 7.5.
You suck.
Well, fuck you. 8. I'm going 8.
You know
Is
what?
that
9.
you locking it in? Oh my
Actually,
god.
wait. I'm gonna say 10. Kangaroo. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're right.
yeah.
Yeah, Kangaroo was in this issue, so I'm gonna give it a 1.
Okay, fair.
And I'm locking it in.
1 is crazy. Okay, cool. Well, those are our ratings. Those are those books. Anything else you all want to say before we end it? It's a bit of a shorter episode, but it's kind of okay. I'm not opposed to it.
Are we clocking in about an hour?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
about.
that's still a good length.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I
is
just
there
want to
anything you
say,
want to say, Brad?
yeah, well, I just want to say thank you guys for having me on here because it's, always a pleasure to talk to fellow Spider-Man fans about such a, underappreciated part of this character's history. So, I don't know, I really appreciate that. And I'm always down to, be a guest any other time Ethan's like, hey, you should totally do this. And then I'll do it. And then, yeah. So, thank you.
You're very welcome. You
And if
made me
you'd
proud.
like to be a guest on the, never mind, I'm not actually doing that.
Yeah, advertise it. Someone's going to be like, oh, how come I haven't gotten my spot on the episode yet?
You have to
Or
know
on
me
the podcast.
personally and have my home address.
Yeah, I could show up
Oh, well,
anytime.
or know me,
Yeah.
That's
but I
true
won't
too.
answer you.
Cool. Well, next episode we will be covering Sensational 13 and what is that? Amazing 420. Yeah. Haha. 420.
Nice.
Oh shit. We got to read about the Savage Land. No, Dad, I
Yeah,
don't want to do
we
it.
have to read about the polar ice caps melting.
You know,
No.
thank God I'm
Please,
not
God.
on next time's episode.
You don't want to
Just
read about Kazar and the polar ice caps
No,
melting and
Jesus
the
Christ.
absolutely not.
chicken cow bird monster.
Man, I'm going to go
Mm.
inside. I'm going to go home. My girlfriend's going to be like, what's wrong, honey? And I'm going to be like, he's making me read Quasar. Or not Quasar. Quasar.
I know that would be
I would
crazy.
rather read Quasar. Holy shit. Give me some Quasar and Nova. Let's read it. Yeah, fuck it. Let's read Annihilation, baby. Let's do it.
No.
Oh,
There's no random
man.
Hulk cameo in that, like there is in the Savage Land story.
Oh, I hate Savage Land. At least we get Ringo back.
Yep, we sure do. We get the fun. We get the fun. We get the fun. It's okay. We get the fun and the lecture at the same time. Corporation bad. Spoilers for next episode. Corporation bad.
Oh, so I can't even read it now. You just spoiled the whole thing. That's
I know.
You mean to tell me that Big Papa Corporation doesn't believe in me and doesn't want me to, thrive?
No
How could you say
succeeding.
that?
Anyway, before we spoil the whole issue, I just want to say thank you everybody for listening to this episode. As always, feel free to follow us on any and all social media platforms. Forgotten Era SM on Twitter. I have our personal information, not like doxing information, but like
my social
personal
security number.
personal accounts in the description. As always, feel free to follow and whatever else you want to do. Feel free to check out the Scarlet Archives, the thing that I have put together, as well as Project Rescan if you want to follow along with the books that you can't get legally. Thanks, Marvel. I've got you covered. So feel free to check all that out. If you want to, please leave a review. If you feel so inclined, message us. I'll reply because I love to reply to messages. Leave a comment. I think I already said that. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, mommy.